Commodore, my 64, my Commodore 64.
Hi there, and welcome to a Let's Type episode from the Commodore 64 Appreciation Society. This is a series where I reach back into the past and type out a program from an old computer magazine, and then when I finish typing it in, I play it. Today we're setting our time machine to May of 1987. U2's With or Without You was on top of the charts, Eddie Murphy was still printing money with Beverly Hills Cop 2, and PC audio was about to level up with the release of the Ad-Lib sound card. Meanwhile, the sounds coming from the nearly 5-year-old Commodore 64 still held their own. The SID chip was ahead of its time when it launched back in 1982, and by the early 16-bit era it was still showing off. The demo scene was thriving, and kids like me were busy filling discs with SID tunes from BBS's and Quantum Link, basically the 80s version of hoarding MP3s. In this episode, we're doing a little SID celebrating of our own. We normally type in games, but today we're trying something a little different. The May 1987 issue of Compute featured a program called Synthesis, a fully customizable synthesizer for the 64. I typed this one in as a kid and played around with it a ton, so I'm pretty excited to jump back in nearly 40 years later. Before we start, just a quick reminder, if you enjoy these type-in episodes, make sure to subscribe. We've already covered fantastic programs from magazines like Compute, Ahoy, and K-Power, along with a bunch from the computer books of the era. And the best part, there are literally thousands more out there. Typing in programs is how many of us learned to code, and it was an inexpensive way to grow our collections without waiting for birthdays or generous grandparents. Alright, let's get started. Synthesis was developed by Dan Monaghan, and it promised to squeeze every last drop out of the SID chip's impressive abilities. It was designed so that both beginners and experts could dive in. The program includes a fully functional on-screen keyboard and a very capable sound editor. As a huge music fan, this kind of thing has always been right up my alley. I used to spend hours messing around on my home keyboard, teaching myself simple tunes, and generally making noise. And I remember Synthesis feeling incredibly easy to use. I was never particularly good at creating my own sounds on the 64, but Synthesis comes with an impressive library of presets, and editing, saving, and loading your own creations is simple. Synthesis is written entirely in machine language, and it's a doozy. Nearly 3 full pages of 2-digit hex values. I did a rough count, and it works out to about 6,000 numbers. That is a lot of hex. The kind of hex where you start questioning your life choices somewhere around line 200. Fortunately, Compute's MLX tool makes typing in programs like this relatively painless, and more importantly, error-free. Many of us remember the soul-crushing experience of typing in a huge program only to have it fail at the end, leaving you to hunt through thousands of digits looking for a single typo. It builds character, apparently. But MLX's error checking is top-notch, so at least I know that once I put in the time, the program should work without a problem. There are actually 2 programs included in this type-in. Synthesis is the headliner, but there's also a second program called Voices. This one is also written entirely in machine code and takes up another full page or so. And after typing in Synthesis, another 2,200 numbers seems like a bit of a cruel joke. But it's absolutely worth the effort. Voices is a data file containing 36 different sounds for use inside Synthesis, and if I remember correctly, they cover a huge range. Everything from strings, drums, and bagpipes to an assortment of wonderfully weird and wacky sound effects. Basically a full SID buffet. And of course, if you're the type who enjoys tinkering with parameters, you can create your own collections by editing and crafting brand new sounds. I'm about 90 minutes into the typing now and a little over halfway done, but that's fine. As I've said in past episodes, I actually enjoy this part. It's surprisingly relaxing, especially with some music in the background and a cup of coffee. Or 3. Look, typing hex is thirsty work. And of course, the end result is always worth it. But while I'm working through the rest of this monster, I thought it would be fun to take a quick break and flip through this issue to see what else was happening in the computing world. Because if I'm going to be in 1987 for the afternoon, I might as well look around. Compute had a few music-related pieces in this issue, and one of their main articles was all about how technology was reshaping the music industry. Today, computers are a standard part of every recording studio, and powerful tools like Pro Tools and GarageBand let pretty much anyone create professional sounding music, or at least convince their friends they can. We weren't anywhere close to that in 1987, but the foundation was being laid. The MIDI standard had been introduced in 1982, and by 87 it was becoming commonplace. Machines like the Atari ST even had MIDI ports built right in, and increasing storage and processing power were giving producers and composers new creative tools. The article points to composer Jan Hammer, yes, the Miami Vice guy, who built his hits in a computer-controlled home studio. Computers and music were still very experimental and a bit avant-garde at this point, but the direction was unmistakable. The BBS scene was absolutely thriving in 1987. Personally, I loved it. I'd get home from school, drop my backpack, and immediately dial into my favorite boards to check my mail, reply to posts, and maybe download a few new SID tunes or a game. It was a routine, a ritual, a lifestyle, and definitely the reason my sister spent so much time yelling at me to get off the phone. As more people bought modems and started connecting, a whole ecosystem of niche boards began to pop up. This month's Telecomputing Today column listed 12 examples of these specialty services. Examples include the Aviation Connection, which catered to fans of all things aeronautic. The Guide Board was frequented by cabbies in the San Francisco area, and Top of the Rockies was pure Colorado ski culture. At 12 or 2400 baud, calling these boards often meant racking up impressive long-distance charges, but these pioneering communities showed us just how powerful online connection could be. It was the internet before pop-up ads, trolls, and memes, and honestly, we loved it. And while MIDI and BBSs were cool, none of that would have excited me nearly as much as this little slice of gaming history. The first Bard's Tale absolutely blew my mind, and to this day it remains one of my favorite gaming experiences. So seeing this ad promising a world 50% bigger, 6 cities, and dozens of new spells, where do I sign up? And more importantly, where can I get a copy? Might be time to start dialing into some of those niche BBSs again. You know, the ones that just happen to have the best elite wares. For educational purposes, of course. Okay, finally done. In total, I spent about 3 hours typing in the programs. I've saved both, and we can see how big they are on disk here. Synthesis is about 5K, and Voices comes in at about 2. This seems very modest, but just remember that compiled programs like this are stored very efficiently. If they were written in BASIC, they would be at least 5 or 10 times larger and would run a lot slower. So let's dive in and see what we have. Okay, here we are. I wasn't expecting any errors, but after spending all that time typing it in, it's always nice when this actually happens. This is the main screen, and you can see that all 36 voices are empty. We can change that by loading in the voices file. Sweet! Look at all those. Those are the ones I remember. And there's one at the bottom that's sticking out as the first one that I should try. I assume that it has nothing to do with the band, but let's give it a shot anyway. Nice. That's so cool. Twinkle Twinkle was one of the very first songs I ever learned to play, and it's always the first I do when I sit in front of a keyboard. But maybe this one's a bit more appropriate when we're in Metallica mode. Well, that sounds amazing. Let's try another one. Cool, hand claps are always fun. Cool sounds, but a bit hard to make a song out of that. I've chosen mandolin here. Let's go in and try playing with some of the settings. Okay, that sure sounds like a mandolin. Let's start by changing the octave. We'll pitch it up 2. Yup, sure is higher. Now let's try down a few steps. Okay, and now we'll just adjust the interval. And we'll do the same for voice 2. Okay, it's doing a little bit. Now let's try playing with the attack. So I've made a few more changes, and it definitely doesn't sound like a mandolin anymore. It's a powerful editor, and it's fun to play around with the settings, but we'll save that for another video. In the meantime, let's head back in and check out a few more of the sounds. How about Mary Had a Little Lamb on the tuba? Thank you. What a fantastic tuba sound. And now, let's play a little Beethoven on the bagpipes, just how he would have wanted it. Thank you so much. You're too kind. And also, do those bagpipes ever sound real? There is obviously so much more we could do here, but you get the idea. Synthesis is easily one of the best music programs I've ever used on the 64. It takes full advantage of the SID chip to create some amazing sounds, and beyond that, it's a fantastic way to peek under the hood to see exactly how it works. Dan Monaghan did an incredible job developing this, and once again, hats off to Compute for selecting it and making it available to readers. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. And if you have any memories of synthesis, this issue of Compute, or anything else you'd like to share, drop them in the comments. Hope to see you again.